to Tactical Talk. This is Zain. Today the topic of our show is what Europe thinks about Brexit. Today the guest of our show is a European politician, the former deputy of the Parliament of Catalonia, Alfons López Tena. We will be discussing how do the European countries perceive the idea of Brexit. Welcome to our show, Alfons López Tena. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on Tactical Talk.
Yes, thanks very much, Mr. Zain Khan.
Alfons López Tena, let's get to the first question. Where did the idea of Brexit come from? When did it all start, and which players were involved?
Brexit started because there has always been a part of the British opinion against membership of the European Union. And a party was founded, that it was the UKIP, the United Kingdom Independence Party, the far-right party, xenophobic party, to get out of the European Union. And this party had a huge success at the last European Parliament elections. It was the first party in the United Kingdom. So the former Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, thought that it was better to end it one and for all, because in the electoral system of the United Kingdom, not to the European Parliament, but the Westminster Parliament, it's very, very difficult to get a seat. But the Conservative Party that he chaired was losing votes that went to UKIP, so it was the risk to lose the elections in front of the Labour Party. So they did a gambit, that is, I promise to have a referendum if I am elected Prime Minister. He was elected, but the problem is that he was too much elected. I mean, the gambit was the Liberal Democrats that are strongly pro-European. The Conservatives won't have outright majority, so a coalition government will go on. There was a coalition government in that moment from between Conservatives and Liberal Democrats, Lib Dem. So Liberal Democrats would say no referendum at all. So it was just an electoral promise not to be fulfilled. The problem is that Conservatives got outright majority, so they had to do the referendum. In that case, Mr. Cameron negotiated with the European Union new concessions, new exceptions for a United Kingdom. You know that there are a lot of policies, there are a lot of measures in the European Union that United Kingdom opt out, so they don't apply to the United Kingdom. He got a lot more of exceptions, so he went to the referendum saying, well, let's see, it's not the United Kingdom membership as it has been till now. It's a different one because of this new deal. So I call people to vote yes. The problem is, first, that the Labour Party, the Tory party, was divided. Labour Party, its leader, Mr. Corbyn, is not really pro-European, as we have seen in all these months, or the year and a half, because it's that far left, that's all the far left that is very, very prefers the company of the South American populists or the far left, like Chavez or Chavismo in Venezuela, or like Argentina or Ecuador, or this kind of Cuba itself. So they present the European Union mainly as a capitalist trap. So they drag their feet. The result was that 52% of people vote Brexit. 48 vote against, but a lot of people didn't bother to vote at all, because they thought that, well, it was a decided issue, that it was not going to have Brexit in any case. So it was a good surprise, a very, very, very big surprise, and from a year now, since a year till now, it's Brexit. What is going on is to leave the European Union, that is the main market for British products.
Why did they feel the need for the Brexit to happen?
Well, British people were promised an impossibility. You know that in England they have a say that says you cannot have your cake and eat it too. signifying that, well, meaning that either you have your cake or you eat it, but you cannot have both at the same time. But the campaign by the Brexiteers, mainly by Boris Johnson, that is now the Foreign Affairs Minister, he said, well, our policy is to having the cake and eating it too. So people were promised, is it possible to be outside the European Union and have all the advantages that being inside mean? I mean, we can be members of the common market, of the single market. There is no problem on that. So we are going to cherry pick what do we want to keep, what do we want to drop off. And this cherry picking means that we'll have no immigrants, no freedom of movement by the continental Europeans going to the United Kingdom, but all the other matters will go on as always. Well, that was a natural lie, because in the real life, you either have your cake or you eat it. And more than that, you cannot eat and have the cake of other 27 countries. These other 27 countries have their own interests, and their own interests are paramount. So the United Kingdom finds itself now being a pariah, being all the other countries have said, yes, do you want to leave? Leave. Get out. You are not a member anymore. Get out. Get out. You have no right whatsoever. You have no preferential treatment whatsoever. You are a third country, as Saudi Arabia, or as Russia, or as South Africa, or as Colombia. It's a third party. So if you want to have access to the single market, you have to abide to the rules of the single market. Freedom of movement of people, freedom of movement of capitals, apply the regulations of the European Union, and abide to the rulings of the European Court of Justice, just as the other European countries that are no member of the European Union, but are inside the single market, as Norway, or Iceland, or Switzerland. So you will have to apply the rules that you are not a member to decide about them anymore. And that's a shock now for British people. So nobody knows what it's going to be, if it is going to go on, if they're going to retreat back, or what is going to happen.
Alfons López Tena, let's get to a very important question. What does Europe think about Brexit?
At first, you may think that when the referendum a year and 2 months ago happened, was the high tide of populists all well around. So after that was the election of Trump in the United States, with a program more or less similar, that was also close the frontiers, end the trade deals, no immigration, no foreigners, and Americans first. In that case, it would be English first, no British, English first. So the European countries were very, very afraid that it was a disease that was spreading. And next of that was the elections in the Netherlands, elections in France, elections in maybe in Italy, it had happened, but and election in Germany, and elections in Austria also. But in all those elections, the anti-European and the people that were against membership of the European Union, of free trade, of free movement of people, of openness, and of the euro as a currency, were utterly defeated in Austria, in France, in Netherlands, and now in Germany. So it's just a British phenomenon, an English phenomenon, because Scots and Irish Northern Irish are against Brexit. So it's just an English phenomenon, and it's treated like that. In fact, in these German elections, it was very shocking for the British to see that the Brexit was not even an issue to be discussed, because nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, if you want to live, live. If you don't want to abide to the rules, if you don't want, you are free to do that. You are a sovereign country. If you don't want to abide by the rules, and if you don't want to abide by the freedom of movement of people. So you are a third party, so you have no privileged access to the market. So the 50%, you may think that 50% of British exports go to the countries of the European area, European Union plus Switzerland, Norway, and Iceland. Well, if you want that, you'll have it. So it's not a matter of concern in continental Europe nowadays.
What economic effects could Brexit bring to Europe?
Positive. Positive because Britain was used by a lot of companies worldwide, from Japan, from China, from the United States, from India, as from the Arab countries, of the Gulf countries, as a step to have a full access to the European market. You may think that European market is the GDP of European countries, except United Kingdom is five times higher than the United Kingdom GDP. So being outside means that these companies are beginning to relocate to continental Europe and to Ireland instead of the United Kingdom, because United Kingdom will be out of this market. The problem is very strong in the case of financial services, banking and financial services. As you know, London is mainly first-class, world-class financial center because they are free to offer and to sell any kind of financial services all around Europe, and it is going to end. So banks, English banks, British banks, and foreign banks are beginning to relocate their headquarters to Dublin, to Paris, and moreover to Frankfurt. So there is a boom of office rentals and office space, and a boom of jobs, the high-level jobs, in all around Europe because of Brexit, because they are fleeing the United Kingdom. And more than that, the difference is in all these years, in all these 50 years of membership, the United Kingdom has always been the pebble on your feet. It has always been the problem, the blocks, the opting outs, etc. That make all other countries lose a lot of time to overwhelm or to overcome all the difficulties the United Kingdom put every time and every step. Without the United Kingdom, European countries are free to follow their path of ever closer union and to have a outside remoter country than an inside remoter country. So nowadays in Brussels, I think the climate, as far as I see, is of happiness. In Paris, in Berlin, this is happiness. We have those British here, always complaining, always saying I am against, always dealing, always negotiating for an opting out, always dragging their feet. It's finished. So it's better.
Alfons López Tena, let's get to the last question. What policy changes could Brexit bring to Europe after its full application?
I think I already answered that. It's an ever closer union. I mean, all the European countries nowadays, the feeling, and you can see it at the polls, that all the different European countries after Brexit and after Trump are in favor of the European Union more than ever, because Brexit has been a powerful deterrent against any will of going out. So the policies will be the strengthening the union, strengthening the common policies in frontiers, in economic policies, in taxes, in trade, etc., etc. So we are going to see, we have begun already to see that the European Union takes positive steps and new initiatives to strengthen the union, leaving the United Kingdom out.
Thank you so much, Alfons López Tena, for being on Tactical Talk. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thanks very much, Zain.
This was Alfons López Tena, the former deputy of the Parliament of Catalonia. We were discussing how Europe thinks about Brexit. Until the next episode of Tactical Talk, this is Zain. Take care and goodbye.